compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law of New Jersey, notice of this May 4th, 2026 meeting of the Millburn Township Board of Education was posted electronically on the district website and provided on January 12th, 2026 by sending notices to the Millburn Short Hills Item, the Star Ledger, the Millburn Short Hills Independent Press, and the Township Clerk, along with posting at the Education Center. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. May I have a motion and a second to approve the following BOE minutes? Mr. Lawrence, Mr. Bigman, Mr. Stars, roll call, please.
Mr. Casson,
Yes.
Mr. Finkelstein,
Yes.
Ms. Wong,
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
Mr. Bigman,
Yes.
Ms. Shivani,
Yes.
Ms. Speltz.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Dr. Diskin, would you like to introduce our presentations for this evening?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Tonight we have quite a few presentations, and we're going to start with our student recognition. So we have two that we're recognizing our students for. One is for a class link design, and the other one is for USA Bio Olympiad. And with us here tonight is Dr. Young and Dr. Noor, and our data manager, Miss Carla Dominguez. Good to see you. So we're going to start with the class link design. Millburn Schools, and I'm inviting Dr. Young up. And by the way, she is now Dr. Young. She just received her doctoral dissertation. She just defended. Welcome to the club. Millburn Public Schools is proud to announce that the successful completion of Class Link, which is a login page design contest. It was a district initiative that brought together creativity, technology, and student voice. So, Christy?
So this project would not have been possible without the support and guidance of our dedicated art educator, Ms. Catherine Riley, as well as our data manager and system integrator, Carla Dominguez. I want to extend a special thanks to them for helping to foster the participation in this project. As Dr. Diskin mentioned, our district uses ClassLink as our sign-on platform for students. So when they sign in through their Chromebook, they come to a welcome screen. And starting last year, we invited students to participate in a competition to be part of the drawing or the integration of creating artwork that you'll see. So if someone would like to turn on the presenter on the screen for us, I do that here. Oh, the mic, I thought it was on. All right, so there we go. So we appreciate the ongoing partnership that we have with ClassLink, whose platform provides us with daily access to our digital learning resources across the district. Their support has made this opportunity possible and allowed us to showcase student talent in a meeting and authentic way. So the ClassLink Design Contest exemplifies how Millburn Public Schools integrates creativity and technology while celebrating student achievement. And we look forward to providing more opportunities for students to share their voices and talents with the broader school community. So at this time, I'd like to bring up Ms. Catherine Riley so that she can announce our student winner.
Hello. After reviewing numerous impressive submissions, the district selected Jonah Ledetsky, class of 2026, as the winning designer. Jonah's work stood out for its creativity, thoughtful composition, and ability to capture the spirit of our school community. His design will be showcased on the district's ClassLink login page throughout the 2026-27 school year, where it will be seen by students and staff. We had about 76 submissions, just so you know, and that was a competition that we offered to the Digital Art and Design 2 course. Jonah, would you like to come up? Maybe get with the background.
All right, and while Dr. Young is still standing, we are also here tonight to recognize students whose achievement reflects both exceptional talent and a deep commitment to the life sciences. So the USA Biology Olympiad is a premier national program aligned with the International Biology Olympiad, designed to identify, inspire, and support the next generation of leaders in biology. Dr. Young?
So I'd like to introduce Dr. Andrea Noor, our secondary science and technology supervisor, to introduce the students.
Good evening. Just to give you some background, the goals of the USA Biology Olympiad, or the USABO, are to identify highly gifted biology students to stimulate their talents, nurture curiosity, and empower young biologists to develop their interest in life sciences, encourage an international network of biology scholars and future life science leaders, and propel excellence and leadership in biology-based careers. The USABO is a highly competitive program where students are challenged to deepen their understanding of complex biological concepts, cultivate scientific curiosity, and connect with a global network of like-minded scholars. The USABO not only recognizes outstanding achievement, but also fosters the growth of future innovators and leaders in biology-related fields. This evening, we celebrate students who exemplify these ideas, demonstrating excellence, dedication, and a passion for learning that extends well beyond the classroom. Nearly 6,400 students across the country took the first round exam in February. Less than 10%, it was about 9%, of those students were invited to sit for the semifinal exam in early March. Even more impressive, only 40 students across New Jersey were selected as semifinalists, and 5 of those 40 students were from Millburn High School. Our students performed particularly well, with one student, Simon Lasansky, scoring in the top 50 nationally. We congratulate all of them for their outstanding success and achievements. We have some certificates for you, and we'll call you up. So we have Simon first, Simon Lasansky. Eric Tu. Patrick Sun. Jaden Wang. And the 5th student, Ryan Wang, could unfortunately not be here tonight, but we will make sure he gets his certificate.
And notice Dr. Young just doesn't sit down. The next presentation is also presented by Dr. Young and her team and the Curriculum and Instruction Department on Earth Day and the celebrations that went on to express how important it is to take care of the world and the world around us.
I made sure that they all fell around the same time so that I could come today and be able to celebrate all the students. So every year we give a presentation about what the district is doing in and around Earth Day, this year being no different. The state over the past few years, has also shared with us different themes and encouraged school districts to participate in them to recognize our planet and how we as residents of planet Earth can work together so that we continue to protect our planet and to educate our students about ways in which they themselves can continue to demonstrate and be stewards of their communities and the planet. This past year, there were 5 different themes over the course of the end of March through the beginning of May. And with that, we invited our teachers across the district to be a part of the work that we did. We also collaborated with Cora Hartshorn Arboretum and Bird Sanctuary in their mission to foster and promote environmental awareness, education, and stewardship within the greater community. Also during our presentation, you will hear about the New Jersey Autobahn. They have provided professional development for us over the past few years, and earlier in the school year, they gifted us binoculars as well as some books so that students could recognize local birds. So during this time, the gift that we received from the New Jersey Autobahn went hand in hand with Cora Hartshorn's Arboretum's first ever Beak Week, where they called together bird enthusiasts to be able to identify different birds locally. And so students were encouraged to get outside and explore during Beak Week with their classes and were invited to participate in this friendly challenge. And I will have Ms. Leslie and Dr. Noor present about the different things around the district within the elementary and secondary schools.
Good evening. So our, at the elementary level, students were engaged in a wide range of hands-on activities that the teachers provided for them, and these learning experiences allowed students to think, to collaborate, and to take action. And the best part about it was not only were they just demonstrating their understanding and learning about the environment, but seeing how they themselves could be part of the solution. It was really great. And so we just have a few different slides with just some pictures of that were taken at each of the schools, and I wanted to really just highlight some of the specific things that were happening. So at Deerfield, the students brought brought environmental learning across content areas applied in reading, writing, math, and STEM. It included designing thoughtful solutions to real-world environmental problems and challenges. At Glenwood, the students connected their learning to real-world impact by identifying ways to make a world a more beautiful place and seeing that idea actually come to life, where they had planted seeds in the weeks prior, and then now they are growing them and they are seeing the seedlings in their classroom. And while others explored pollination and how bees support our ecosystem and why they matter for both the environment and humans. At Hartshorn, students engaged in a variety of school-wide experiences, from Earth Day Bingo, choice board here, outdoor read-alouds, to hands-on efforts to care for their school and environment through different cleanup activities. At South Mountain, students explored native species with a special focus on the monarch butterflies, supported by the school's work as an official monarch way station, which is something very interesting. I did not know that. Great. Was so excited to hear that. And it creates and maintains a habitat for the butterflies, and they also planted in the school gardens. At Wyoming, students experienced environmental learning in action through immersive opportunities like the Earth Dome, along with hands-on projects such as designing and testing wind-powered cars using recycled materials. And also one that I was able to attend, Miss Gale, her kindergarten class, they were learning about the different parts of the tree and why they are important in order to ensure that our trees are healthy. And she actually brought them outside, and they became little scientists with their magnifying glass, and we brought them out to the playground to the 2 trees, and they were really exploring the different roots and the bark, and really just a great hands-on activity to bring the learning from the classroom to outdoors. And then our Washington students connected environmental learning to design and reflection by planning pollinator gardens and expressing their thinking through writing and other cross-curricular activities such as writing Earth Day haikus and researching New Jersey agriculture to create, which I thought was pretty cool, custom seed packets. So those are some of the highlights from the elementary schools. Okay.
in middle school, we had some of our 7th grade students shown here. So in 7th grade, students are in an earth science class. They had a wide variety of activities they did on that particular day. But when I was in this particular classroom, you could see the students gathered around a banner. This was their culminating activity. And this teacher has been adding on to this banner for the last 14 years. So there are many layers. It's hard to tell in the picture, but there's many layers on this banner where students are writing a note and essentially a pledge, and they sign their name for something that they are going to do to keep Earth Day in mind, and they essentially make a pledge to the Earth. And in the 8th grade classes, which is life science, they spent several days integrating both Earth Day and the Beak Week activities, and you can see them using the binoculars here that were mentioned earlier. Over those several days, on the first day, they categorized native New Jersey organisms as producers or consumers from an interactive ecosystem. On the next day, they observed and identified native birds on a birding walk around the school using the field guide that you can see there. Students, they were able to identify many birds on the grounds, including a blue heron in one class. And as a closure to the mini unit, students chose a native bird from the list, researched it to find out what it eats, and then described the bird's adaptations and identified its role in their ecosystem. They used all of that research to complete a food web and an energy pyramid that includes their bird. And then at the high school, we have a picture here of students in an integrated science class, which is the integrated chemistry and earth science, the class that students take as freshmen. They participated in a Socratic seminar as part of their unit on climate change and human activity. They debated multiple topics and demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of how environmental policy must be weighed against global economic stability and social equity. In addition, we can see off to the right 2 pictures, we have English and environmental science teachers participating in a cross-curricular professional learning workshop presented by the education program manager of the New Jersey Audubon. Teachers read poetry and used prompts to help engage with nature. They crafted field notes, reflections, and poetry with the intent of turnkeying these activities for their classroom lessons. So you can see a wide range of activities all the way from our elementary schools through high school.
So one of the things that makes New Jersey very unique from other states within the United States is that we are one of the only states that requires climate change standards to be integrated throughout all of our curriculums. So students explore climate change as well as standards related to climate change throughout their English, math, world language classes, and science classes. So this is just a touch of what students experience. The work that students and teachers do spans the entire year, and this is just a snapshot of what you see our students doing. And we encourage our families to connect with their students to promote this stewardship between the community and the school so that we are raising responsible young citizens who will continue to protect our planet. So thank you.
Thank you for first the awards and recognitions for our fantastic students and for the great example of what's going on. Would any board members have any questions or comments about those presentations? Fantastic. All right.
So I just want to say thank you to everyone who came out this evening. I really appreciate it. On behalf of Mr. Connolly and I, we thank you for all you do. So thanks for coming tonight.
And now we can proceed with the budget public hearing.
Sure. I'd like to invite Mr. Peter Stars, Mr. Connolly, and myself will present the adjusted budget and the budget hearing for this evening for the public.
I thought Dr. Young was going to do this. Blow this up to the screen.
Just use your arrow.
So good evening. Tonight is the presentation and public hearing on the 2026-2027 school year budget. The budget that we will be presenting this evening is a budget that was approved at the Board of Ed's March 23rd meeting. After that meeting, the budget was submitted to the county office, who reviewed it and approved it. With their approval, we then advertised it on April 20th as required for public consumption in preparation for tonight's hearing. So this presentation will be similar to the 23rd. However, the last slides of the evening, Dr. Diskin and I will be making a few recommendations for the board's consideration that would adjust the tentative budget and the resolution for budget adoption. I do have that adjusted resolution with me for public distribution should the board elect to act on the adjusted budget instead of the tentative budget. So let's begin. How did we get here? The process begins in October with budget requests being submitted by the budget managers. That's all administrators. We move the existing staff on the salary guides to begin personnel costs, and we look at all existing contracted services along with current year enrollment and begin making projections. In December and January, the central office administrations begin the review process and conversations with appropriate personnel. We package it all together and begin conversations with the Finance Committee, already knowing what we anticipate on the revenue side. We continue to gather data concerning expenses and await the governor's budget address to learn our state numbers. With the state aid numbers and discussions with the Finance Committee, we can finalize a tentative budget for the full board. That was approved on March 23rd. Since the tentative budget, we've had 2 more board meetings, 2 more finance meetings, and spoke about the budget with all of the other board committees. And that brings us here tonight.
The budget process begins well beyond simply what you're hearing tonight. It begins with our district goals. These goals were established for the 25-26 school year, and as many of you know, we are adopting a strategic plan. So with that, and it all encompasses, our budget thinks about our district goals as well as the board goals in order to present a fiscally responsible budget. And that goes to the work behind the timeline. When we talk about all the things that we do, Mr. Starrs mentioned a few of them, but he's going to talk a little bit more about what lies behind that collaboration.
So the budget development and initiatives isn't constrained to this 5-month process. It is daily activity. How can we be more efficient and cost effective? A few examples of actions taken over this past year. We could not accept the state health benefits 29% increase, their lack of flexibility in providing us our own data, and we marketed our group. We've joined the SHIF, the School Health Insurance Fund, to save money, but more importantly, have more control over our own destiny when it comes to medical coverage. Second, we've undertaken the request for proposal process for both attorney and auditing services. Our hope is that we will be able to save some money while still maintaining our standards. We have automated our timesheet process for buildings and grounds and also formalized the overtime approval process, saving money and being more efficient. In regards to teaching administrative personnel, with every departure of staff, we determine how we can achieve the same results more efficiently, trying to save in labor costs. For instance, we are currently actively doing this with the assistant superintendent position for HR and governance, determining a more cost-effective way to have the same task responsibilities covered. Facility agreements, we are ensuring that we get compensated accordingly for the use of our facility by outside vendors. Vendors such as MIOT, Alpha Best, Paper Mill Playhouse, and even on tonight's agenda, our parking lot used for Paper Mill Productions. This slide again is intended to show the size and scope of the district and what this budget supports. Over 4,400 students, over 750 employees. Some people may note this number is less than what was on the last slide. Time we presented, that number was higher. We think due to a double counting of staff working in multiple locations and some coaching staff. So this number is the accurate number here. 800,000 square feet of facilities, which requires utilities, cleaning, and repairs. Transporting over 2,100 students and having buses, drivers, supplies, and fuel to do so. And to do all this, our current year budget is $112 million.
So in order to think about what goes into that, there are 5 main areas, or 5, what we call 5 core priority areas that support student achievement and operational excellence. the different managers of all the departments, such as curriculum and instruction, our transportation department, our technology department, our human resources department, and obviously buildings and grounds and capital maintenance, looks at all of the things that we think about to invest in and to ensure that Millburn schools continue to deliver that high quality education while maintaining fiscal responsibility and addressing student needs. We look at curriculum and instruction, we look at the program development, we look at assessments, how are we using our instructional resources, what opportunities are we providing for children across the district. Enrollment changes, it fluctuates, new housing units or just residential turnover. We take a look at those and grade level program fluctuations throughout the year. When October 15th report numbers come in, we look at those, but we also look at real numbers and real actual data that we have as recent as May 1st. Capital maintenance, as Mr. Starr has discussed, roofing replacements, floor repairs, sidewalk improvements, and the Millburn High School turf project, which is funded through capital reserve. And personnel is the largest bucket. We look to meet our salary and our commitments to health benefits to support teaching excellence so that our students can continue the academic high quality and the social emotional development support that we would like for all of our students. And technology and transportation, we continue to upgrade our infrastructure to be sure that our technology is safe and secure with cybersecurity, and maintaining, this budget includes maintaining transportation costs.
So key drivers of this budget specifically should not surprise anybody, but our benefit increases are similar to districts throughout the state, and they've skyrocketed. As I said, we have moved our medical plan to the shift, which should eventually provide for lower increases and provide us a more opportunity to be competitively market our insurance. Our negotiated labor agreements have been above 3%, and our utility cost increases have gone up just like you see at the gas pump every day, and electric bills for your homes. So the expenditures. Let's look at the expenditure comparisons from year to year. As discussed, the glaring line is the benefits line going up 20%. The buildings and grounds includes utility accounts, so only going up 3.82% is not that horrible, actually. Administration is rising 7%, but that is in part due to moving assistant superintendent salaries and the respective secretary salaries into these line items that were previously elsewhere in the budget, so it's more of a transfer of money that's reflecting an increase there. The changes in the other lines are either negative or under 3%, and in this day and age, that isn't is typical. This one is similar to every other district in New Jersey. It's something we already knew. Public education runs on people power, labor. 81% of our budget goes towards salary and benefits. 19% is for everything else. So when districts do look for material cost savings, they unfortunately have to look at personnel, as that is where the largest number is. How do we fund those expenditures, the revenue side? Again, in Millburn, the brunt falls on the taxpayer. The last several years, the district state aid has dropped 3% each year, and there's no signs or talk of that turning around anytime soon. We do have other minor miscellaneous funding sources, budgeted fund balance, tuition received from other schools for students that attend our special programs, facility rentals, the subscription bus program, and we are using money from our reserve accounts, both maintenance and capital, to help the expenses for certain initiatives. And again, this tells the story. 89.7% of the revenues come from taxes, 6.1% from state aid, and 4.3% from other. So the tax impact for this tentative budget. This slide shows how the tax rate is calculated. Since the district fiscal year is July through June and not a calendar year, one must split the current year budget and proposed budget to obtain the 2026 impact. Doing so leads us to the estimated tax increase for 2026. And as you can see, it's $35.49 per every $100,000 of assessed value. So in 2025, the estimated school tax was $1,033. The proposed is $1,069, and that's the $35.49 on every 100,000. So that was the advertised tentative budget. Since that time, as previously indicated, we continue to look for efficiencies. As we discussed at both finance meetings and the tentative budget adoption, we recognize the significant impact of the health benefit cost and its associated tax increase. So we continue to explore opportunities for budget efficiencies and savings. As previously shown, any real budget savings generally is about staffing, since labor is 81%. To do this, we examine both programs, staffing schedules, and the latest enrollment projections. As you can see here, our K-5 is projected to go down. And with that, we are looking to reduce the number of sections in these levels by 3, which is 3 FTEs, teaching positions at the K-5 level. In addition to that, we have looked at the staffing and the scheduling of our related arts, and we have found some efficiencies that enable us to reduce 2 positions from the tech facilitator coverage area, and yet we'll still provide the same coverage and meeting the same number of students. And go ahead, do you want to jump?
Sorry, so with the reduction of the 2 tech facilitators and the related arts, we took, Mr. Connolly took a deep dive into the related arts scheduling and looked at the fact that we can have the same services to our students with merging of that program. In addition, we're going to provide one full-time guidance counselor. Right now, we have a half-time guidance counselor at Washington, and one of the things that we talked about last year when we did the restructuring is that if we could find the way to provide full-time counselor at Washington School, we would go ahead and do so. And with this budget, we have done that.
So with those adjustments, if the board would consider this is about a $344,000 saving. It drops the budget increase from 5.13% to 4.82%, and it would drop the tax levy increase from 5.65% down to 5.3%. And on this slide, you can see the tax impact going from $35.49 down to $33.78, or $1.71 savings per $100,000 assessment. So we will offer you those 2 options, the tentative budget or the adjusted budget, for your consideration. And at this time, I guess we will take questions.
Thank you all for that presentation. I think first we'll do the board comments. So I'd like to open the floor. Mr. Lawrence, please. Thank you.
Thank you. First, I've been through these budgets several years. First, I want to say thank you to the whole administrative staff, the finance staff, administrators throughout the district. It takes many, many months to work on this budget from the ground up, and really many hours and late nights. And it really come together with a really nice budget for the district, making sure that we balance the needs of the district as well as the efficiencies and the savings that we could bring to the public. And I want to thank the entire team on their efforts during this budget cycle. Several months ago, when going through this process, we talked about what can we do or what can we do differently to help position ourselves well for the future. Mr. Storrs mentioned about the health insurance increase that impacted the entire state, and how we can address that or set up the position for the school to be successful in the future. And we did, and the district did. And we got out of that state plan, got into another plan, and we're going to be well positioned in the future to accommodate less increases or mitigate those increases that other people didn't have the advantage to get out of this past year. So again, hats off to the district and the team that worked on that and set us up for the future. Now, that is a sizable increase. You can see it was over 5% tax levy for this district. It is in the middle of the pack with other districts that we looked at. We presented that a while ago. It's not the highest, it's not the lowest, but it's right in the pack where most people are hitting. But we want to do better than that. You know, we want to look at efficiencies, and the finance team, finance committee, asked the district, can we go back and look for further efficiencies or other ways to benefit the district while still keeping the education in focus and the district in focus, and make sure we're providing the right tools and resources and education to the students. And they did. They went back, and you can see here, they went through like everything, the whole budget in a fine-tooth comb, and find what can we find that can set us up for success for the future, but still keep the budget intact and the education set at the highest priority for the district. And they did, and they were able to find about $340,000 in savings to benefit the district and reduce the taxes for the public. So I really find that's a great balance between what we're trying to accomplish and also do our responsibilities to bring the budget in line to what it could be in order to benefit the taxpayers as well. So I just want to thank everybody for that hard work.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Would anyone else like a comment or a question? Ms. Wong.
Yeah, I have a question about the slides regarding to the projected enrollments for the next year school. Would you like to show that? Yes, so from what I understand that we compare so-called projected number for the next year with the actual enroll number, the school year 2025. But according to this number, this number actually is reflect as of May 5th, how many students registered in the system for the next school year. So I don't think it's a apple-to-apple comparison. So basically, I understand that's, I confirm, that's the number, the projected 20, next year, as of May 5th. That's how many students so far have registered in the system for the next year. But we don't know how many students actually will really enroll in the system till September. So that's, so if you look at the number, so you compare with this number with the actual 2025 number, is decreased by 170 students. That represents minus 8% decrease in the total elementary enrollment. That's a question. That I want to say is what's this projected, what this number is. I understand this is just to reflect whatever students register as of now. We still have a May, June.
Can you give them a chance to answer, or maybe give
okay.
them a chance to answer the
Yeah,
question? Because
thank
I think I actually asked a very similar question in a previous meeting.
So the numbers that you see in the blue projected 26, 27 represent the number of students that we have in the school between grades K through 4, right? And then the projected enrollment coming through. So we're looking at that. So we've already run and closed kindergarten registration. So we have a very good sense of how many students we're picking up in each building going into next year. That's not to say, to Ms. Wong's point, that we're not going to pick up some students along the way. I think the point here is that we're not going to pick up 100 and something students across the district over the summertime, and that has not been the trend of the district over the summertime in my time here that I can speak to. So the other thing I just want to point out is that we've seen the bubble coming through here in Millburn, and we know where that bubble exists, and that bubble is going to continue to make its way through. And that bubble, as it goes through, that's why you're seeing the increase of 22 students in the Washington school next year, because that represents the 4th grade, which is currently where our bubble sits, right? And is that so? part of the reason why you're seeing some of those elementary school numbers go down is because that bubble's coming out of the elementary schools in the K-4 buildings and going to that Washington school for next year, where we're seeing an increase of 22 students. That class aligns more with the classes that I saw as a principal coming through in the middle school between 2017 and 2025, where we were having classes anywhere from 350 to 420, and that was a pretty standard size of a group. So I hope that helps to answer your question. I know it's not an exact science, but we've really studied the numbers, and credit to Mr. Arlington working with the registrar to really kind of be very diligent in following up literally weekly to check those numbers so we have the most accurate information to present to the public today.
If I could add to that, based on the conversation that we had about this same topic, that's why it says it's a projected number, is because it actually is not just the number that's registered today, but based on historical data and looking at how many students tend to be added in June, July, August, even September. That's what the projection is based on. This is not just the numbers that have registered today. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And also just to note here that, we obviously know if more kindergartners were to show up in our district in Millburn tomorrow, we would be able, with this budget that we're proposing to you, be able to staff another section if we needed to. Our point here is that we don't want to overstaff when we don't have students to teach. Right? So we want to make sure that our budget is fully aware of that. And what we've noticed is that that trend has kind of gone downward, and we're pretty confident that we can have a solid budget with that. But keep in mind that if we need to add something, we will.
Thank you, Dr. Diskin. Ms. Shivani, did you have a comment?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add, as Mr. Conley said, I think the projected number is based on a lot of the historical data model as well, and it's usually aligned with the actual numbers when the time comes. Also, this decline, my understanding is nationally there has been a decline in birth rate since the 2008 financial crisis year, right? So there is across the state definitely a decline in the enrollment in the number of students who are actually the number of babies born, and hence the number of students enrolled in schools. I think the class of 2025 was the largest, and after that it's just been declining. So I wanted to add the national context.
Thank you, Ms. Shivani. Ms. Wong, you have another comment.
Yeah, I just look at the data. So basically compare the actual versus the projected. It's basically like we predict we're going to have 100, about 70 less students, for the elementary school, that's including K to 5. That means 170 students compared with last year. That represents like 8% drop. I'm not comment whether whether it's accurate or not accurate, but that number seems out of the I observed for the last 3 or 4 years the change, actual change, like generally like 1 or 2% change or increase or decrease, but this number represents negative 8% change.
Do you
So I
have a
think you have
question
two-
regarding the budget, though,
Yeah,
right now?
I just point out what I understand.
Okay. Well, I understand. I think we do
so
understand
that's-
that. But do you have a
that's-
question or a comment?
Yeah, I have
specific?
another comment. Just bear me, sorry. I agree that the enrollment is important, but on the other side, I understand the staffing is we need to incorporate not just one-time enrollment this year or one-time enrollment decrease next year. I think from the staffing perspective, I understand providing relative stable and nurturing staffing level, both to students, also both to teachers. That's also important. So that's I think really maintain a relative stable staffing levels is important for both teachers and also for the students to maintain a relatively stable and a nurturing environment for both our students and also our teachers.
Thank
If-
you, Ms. Wong.
yeah.
Mr. Lawrence?
Just to wrap up, I use this analogy during the finance committee meeting. If we have bus routes, right, for the kids and enrollment goes down and people not using 3 bus routes, you're going to cancel those routes. You're not going to pay the bus driver because there's no kids on the bus. It's the same thing we're doing here. There's not enough kids, less sections, you're just reducing those teachers. You're not impacting education or anything we're doing within the district. You just don't need the sections because there's no kids. You don't need the bus because there's no routes. So everything is staying, from my perspective, status quo, high level of education and performance that like we always do in this district. And again, I think it was very prudent for the administration and the finance committee to move in that direction to save the taxpayer money that we don't have to spend. So thank you.
If I can add to that, in the 13 years that I've been in the district, there have been every year at different schools and at different times, there are reductions in the number of sections in schools. There are additions, there are subtractions. It really just varies from year to year. And that is, I think, the basis of what we do is what is happening this year. So we have to plan for the number of sections that we need this year. And then if next year there's a different number, then that's what we do for next year. So that's, I think, while consistency is important, I do think we also have a fiduciary responsibility to make good decisions and ensure that we're using every penny of taxpayer money wisely. Yes, Ms. Shivani?
Especially when our expenses are going up so much, right? 3 million in health insurance costs and the energy and utility bills, we all know that we're paying a high price for that. So I think the finance committee has done a great job. Thank you.
Any other board comments or questions?
Yeah, I totally
Oh,
understand.
Ms. Wong, would you like to go? One more comment? I'm sorry, you're just supposed to be recognized first, that's all. Thank you.
I understand, we need to, so just to still look at the number. We passed the budget, that's a tentative budget. The rate is a 5.68%. That's the tax levy. And we cut 5 teacher positions. Yes, we save money. The money we save 0.38%. That's we cut 5 teacher positions. Basically, conceptually, we conduct a reduction in force to get 0.38%. So I think from my understanding, cutting teacher positions has impact. Some impact, I understand the negative impact, at least under current situation. Some impact you can shorten, can be measurable, but some negative impact to the teaching environment, to provide the more better programs to our students to get enough resources on the relative longer time periods. That's I understand under current this situation. I have more concerned cutting teacher positions. That's basically the concept is reduction in force, and I'm more concerned about that.
Thank you, Ms. Wong. Mr. Casson?
Would you mind pulling up the screen for the budget that shows the how it's used on the reserves and on that number, please? Yeah. So the number in revenues on the reserve fund, my understanding is that that revenue source, and I'm going to ask these in the form of questions, actually. The reserve fund is a tapping of a fund that exists within the district, and we're applying that to the operating account. Is that correct?
Yes, that's a good way to look at it, yes.
So when we deplete our reserve accounts by 880,000 and change each year. We won't have those for, what are the reserve accounts generally for? Capital expenditures or?
There's maintenance reserve account, and then there's capital reserve account. So the maintenance reserve, so 880,000, 300,000 is coming out of maintenance reserve, and the remainder is coming out of the capital reserve account.
Okay.
The capital reserve is assisting funding the roof project, and maintenance is for the other miscellaneous projects, the painting, the floor replacements, those type of things.
I appreciate that. And, I will just say, I appreciate where we find cost savings in other areas and right-sizing staff to the right number of students that are enrolled. But I think it's also permissible and appropriate and consistent with their fiduciary duties to our taxpayers and our schools to apply savings to places where we're depleting other accounts. And right now, we're depleting our reserve accounts by, 880,000 and change for next year. But we could deplete it by $345,000 less if we left the budget as we had approved it. I think, was it 1 month ago? The tentative budget.
This is the tentative budget that you see up here. So this is the same proposal right here is what was approved on March 23rd.
If I could clarify, I think what he is saying, if you could apply that 340,000 and change to that 880 to reduce that number. Is that what you're saying?
If you could turn it is similar to what I'm saying. If you turn to the slide where you're looking at two different budgets, the tentative budget and the proposed adjusted budget.
This one?
Yeah. So if we used the advertised number instead of the recommended adjusted number, but took the funds that were going to be put into the tax levy and general budget fund and apply that towards the reserve fund, isn't that also fiscally prudent? I mean, aren't both choices?
Just to make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying right now we have about 500,000 allocated towards the roof project. You're suggesting reduce the staffing or whatever we need to do for the 344 savings and don't change the revenue side, but use that 344 to increase the funding for the capital assistance for the roof project.
Yes, that's a better way of saying it than I can say it. Thank you.
Mr. Lawrence.
Mr. Strauss, I just got a question on that. The tax levy is based on the operational budget, right? So we're looking for the taxpayer to fill that gap, 90%, that's to pay for the operations, not to pay for capital. Can you really go to the tax to pay for capital and not operational?
What his suggestion there was that the tax levy was not going to change.
No, I understand, but it's not changing. There's efficiencies. There's staff we don't need. We don't need that in the operations budget. So now we're saying to keep it in the budget, but you can't keep the staff in there because you don't need it. That's not appropriate. So you're saying keep that 340,000 in order to cover cap X. But you really can't tax the public for capital expenditures, right?
You can.
You can.
Yeah, you could use it for various projects. If you didn't. I was just using the roof project as an example, but you could allocate that 344 for lock changes throughout the district.
Well, maintenance, yes.
Yeah, but that's still considered a project, a capital project sometimes.
So there's no difference between maintenance expense and capital expenditures.
Capital expenditures are in like Fund 12, so that's where you can like place that money into Fund 12.
No, I know.
The 500,000 we have right now is also heading towards Fund 30 to support that project.
Sure.
So, but you can also have independent projects in Fund 12.
Gotcha. Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. Casson?
Mr. Lawrence, my thinking, the thought process I have here is there's money that can be used in different ways, and there is savings that your committee found and administration found, which I think is excellent. But that we are currently tapping a reserve account that is going to get depleted, and if we don't, deplete it as little as possible, or we have to be just mindful of how we appropriate those funds from those accounts for different purposes, and we have the opportunity here to apply the savings that you've generated to reduce the amount that's withdrawn from those reserve accounts, which, I'm mindful of the other communities in their state that have had fiscal shortfalls, and I want to be mindful and protective of our long-term fiscal health. While I am appreciative of tax savings, I want to make sure our community has long-term fiscal health and stability, recognizing that we do have increasing salaries, increasing energy costs, increasing other costs, and we don't want to diminish other programs. So if we have the opportunity to not harm our reserve account or wherever else that money could be applied to, I think it's still fiscally responsible to do that. So I would say my position is I would support the budget as we've been advertising it. I think that's a perfectly acceptable and reasonable budget. Although I can see the benefits of the recommended adjusted budget too. So, this is why I think we're having a discussion.
I think it's a very helpful discussion to have, and I think it's our duty to consider all of these options. Yes, Mr. Lawrence, and then Mr. Bigman.
Just one follow-up, because you raised a good point. And something we've been monitoring, of course, for many years is how much is in our maintenance and capital funds. Can you please state how much are on those funds right now?
Off the top of my head, there's close to $4 million, I think, in the maintenance reserve, and close to $9-10 million in the capital reserve.
Right, and of course, I was aware of that, and I just want to make sure the public is aware of that we do have sufficient reserves for both maintenance and CapEx. And of course, we do look at that from year to year to make sure that we do have sufficient resources for the future, which is why the Finance Committee thought it would be more prudent to, especially in a high expense year with health insurance and other utilities and other costs, that this would be a good year to actually pass on those savings to the public. And then, of course, we'll keep monitoring or funds and or maintenance funds and cap funds and other funds to make sure that they stay appropriate for the future. But we felt this year was not that year.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Mr. Bigman, you had a comment?
He just took my question, actually. Because I think what Brian was raising that's important in terms of context and an understanding is the comment about the adequacy of the reserves, which in your context, you were saying are being diminished by a $345,000 decline, and that may not be entirely representative of what the administration in their professional actually in the entire process that we went through and their experience and their professional decision-making that they told us and recommended to us to adhere to as a recommendation. So I actually agree with Brian to the extent that we're at a 5-point-something number, and the enrollment, as Mrs. Wang had said, is in a double-digit decline. This may not be the appropriate year to tack on an additional tax for capital projects that we potentially could use adequate reserves for.
Thank you. I also would like to add to it, Mr. Stars, if you could comment. We do get an audit every year, and our audit results are usually recognize us as one of the more responsible and well-run districts. Is that what you'd say?
Yes, they've been clean audits with no recommendations as far as financial issues.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Excellent. So just as a quick reminder, the board will have the opportunity to make additional comments and discussion before an actual vote. But at this point, we would like to open the floor to public comments. If you would, please state your name and address for the record. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. We'll follow the same protocol we usually follow. Thank you. Yes, I'm sorry. These are just comments on the budget specifically. We'll have regular public comment periods later.
Jeffrey Feld, Poet Section. I'm glad that you're looking at certain things and the concept of participatory budgeting. What we heard about the demographic shifts at the elementary school, historically, we've been noticing in the last few years a migration out at 5th grade and 8th grade. And in your report, you didn't analyze that or tell the public based on usually counseling and applications. Have you noticed a decrease in the migration rate that we have witnessed at the 5th and 8th grade? When we're having the conversation about reserves, based on your chart, there is expenditure coming out, a major expenditure from the capital reserves for the turf field project. I don't believe that was reflected in any of the slides. Isn't that part of the budget that you're going to be invading the capital reserve for somewhere between 3.5 or, I don't know, $4.5 million for the turf field, and why wasn't that reflected in the charts? Or am I misunderstanding it, that it came out of the budget that we just are finishing rather than next year's budget? Because if it's coming out of the current budget that we're existing, I don't believe I've ever seen a resolution approving it by this board that expenditure is shifting. Thank you. You'd be talking about it, but I don't think you ever took formal action. Because when you had the public notice that was in the Star Ledger, when you compared that public notice to other public notices in other municipalities, they show all the evasions of the reserves for various projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Feld. Any other budget comments? All right, thank you very much. All right, so I did not expect this to go quite as quickly to reach to me, but I am very excited to share with you that last week I had the opportunity to attend the New Jersey School Board Association Annual Public Relations Forum, which was an incredible opportunity. It was a great time. I got a lot of best practices about transparent, effective communication, as well as incorporating AI tools on the administrative side, not for students, but on the administrative time to help reduce the time spent on certain tasks, improve efficiency and accuracy. There were some great connections made there. We found some new resources that I think are really going to help us move forward and ensure that we are putting best practices into effect. I do, and as you may have seen from all of this, I do want to say thank you to the administration, to the board, and especially to the Finance Committee. There has been months of hard work that has gone into the preparation of this budget. There have been a lot of late night discussions. There have been a lot of back and forth. There's still, everyone has very strong feelings. We care about the students. We want to prioritize the education of the students. We understand that all of this comes through our staff, which is incredibly important. And so we're trying to find the best balance for all of these. The administration has worked really hard to go through with a scalpel to ensure that we are spending every single penny of taxpayer money as wisely as we can and making sure that our students get the most benefit that they can. And that is what I would like to share. And then Dr. Diskin, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Beltz. I'm going to start tonight with a moment of silence. This week, we learned of two former long-term employees who passed away. Mary DeLessio retired from Millburn in 2023 after 21 years. Mary was a beloved middle school English teacher, as well as Matthew Spelker, who taught at Deerfield School beginning in 2003 before becoming an instructional supervisor at Glenwood and leaving in 2013 to pursue an assistant superintendency in Harding, and then soon to become superintendent. I'd like to offer condolences to the families and with a moment of silence. Thank you. This week, we recognize Teacher Appreciation Week. It is an opportunity to acknowledge the extraordinary work of our teachers and staff across the district. Each day, they bring with them dedication, compassion, and a deep commitment to our students. Their impact goes far beyond academics, helping to shape the character, confidence, and the well-being of every child in our schools. I'd also like to thank the PTOs for their thoughtful ways that they are celebrating the teachers and staff throughout the week. There's a little surprise coming from the administrative staff to all the schools, so we hope you enjoy that as well. Your continued partnership and your support mean a great deal. Our teachers and our staff, we encourage you to take a moment for yourselves this week. Take some time taking care of yourself and each other. School Nurses Day is also on May 6th. Keeping with our appreciation this week, we also want to recognize School Nurse Appreciation Day on May 6th and highlight the essential role our school nurses play across the district. Each day, they support the health, safety, and well-being of our students and staff with a high level of expertise and care. From managing routine health needs to responding to urgent situations, they are a constant and steady presence in our schools. They also prompt wellness and help create environments where students feel safe and supported, which is critical to their ability to learn and thrive. We are grateful for their professionalism, compassion, and dedication, and we thank them all for what they do for the Millburn community. And tonight, Bryant's Tavern 1780. While we're meeting this evening, the final performance of Bryant's Tavern 1780 is taking place at the Carriage House at the Paper Mill Playhouse as part of Millburn's 250th celebration. This interactive show, set on the eve of the Battle of Springfield, features strong Millburn school representation. Board members Asaf Farashudin and Cynthia Longley Richards are performing alongside students from Washington School, Millburn Middle School, and Millburn High School. This is such a great example of our school community bringing local history to life. Tonight on the agenda, I'm recommending our athletic director, the appointment of Mr. Peter Kane, who is here tonight in the second row. We welcome Mr. Kane, brings with him experience as an assistant principal for athletics, along with 22 years of service as a health and physical education teacher. He has extensive experience as a winter sports supervisor and a coach of track, field, and football. So welcome aboard. Strawberry Festival season is finally here, and we're looking forward to celebrating the great tradition across our elementary schools. The season begins with Deerfield School this Wednesday, May 6th, with a rain date of May 7th. Hartshorn will follow in the next week, Wednesday, May 13th. These events are always a highlight of our school communities, and we encourage everyone to come out, spend some time, and enjoy the festivities with our students and families. I also want to remind the board that on Wednesday, May 6th, we have a 7 p.m. special Board of Education meeting for the purpose of our RFPs for our attorneys.
Thank you, Dr. Diskin. And we can move on to our board committee reports. Mr. Finkelstein, would you like to start us off with programs?
Yes, thanks. The program committee met on April 24th at 2 p.m. Attendees were myself, Mr. Bigman, Ms. Shivani, and Ms. Longley Richards. Attending from the administration were Dr. Diskin, Mr. Connolly, Mr. Stars, Ms. Graff, and Ms. Martin. The committee first was given an update regarding college visits by Ms. Alvarez, who is monitoring evolving Big Ten admissions trends, among others, noting a growing emphasis on distinguished factors beyond transcripts. She has initiated collaboration with external counseling leaders and continues to share insights with the staff. Ms. Garland, also from high school guidance, will provide updates following a UC Davis visit, and Mrs. So will work with Ms. Alvarez to develop a timeline for additional college visits. The committee then reviewed development plans for the related arts vision for 2026 and beyond. Then the committee discussed community concern about excessive screen time and outlined initial approaches to address them, which included technology audit for classroom screen time, tracking the amount of instructional time teachers require students to use screen time to complete instructional exercises, and using data to drive decisions moving forward. The committee then discussed various program updates, which include the TREPS program, transitioning to a part of the grade 5 curriculum, the change in course naming, and next, the change in course naming and leveling, which for part of that issue is more complicated than one of the changes that we've contemplated, changing the nomenclature of Excel classes to honors classes, but other naming changes such as CPB and CPA and college prep generally is a more complicated item that is going to continue to be reviewed, and it's going to have a full review plan for the 26-27 school year. The committee then reviewed plans by Mr. Connolly and the curriculum division to address some remaining grading hotspots in the high school. The committee reviewed a draft grading assessment proposal, and timelines were presented by Mr. Connolly and the C&I directors. The committee was then given an update regarding MHS class meetings led by Mr. Nixon, who introduced the new high school leadership team, reinforcing high school priorities such as attendance, dress code, and academic integrity. Then Mr. Stars gave the committee a brief budget overview ahead of the BOE hearing tonight. And finally, the committee reviewed the proposed change to the calendar, which included converting an October full-day PD to a delayed opening to account for an extra snow day. Emergency day, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Finkelstein. Ms. Shivani, governance?
Yep, so a few common themes, actually, I think, between the two committee meetings, which is good for sharing information across the board. So the governance committee met on April 28th at 5:30 p.m. Board of BOE attendees were myself, Priya Shivani, Ms. Abby Spells, Mr. Jeff Casson, and Ms. Cynthia Longley-Richards. Administrators present were Dr. Diskin, Mr. Arlington, Ms. Jen Soa, and Mr. Peter Stars. Budget review, Mr. Stars provided a high-level overview of the proposed budget for the upcoming school year, including a review of key tax levy implications in anticipation of approval tonight. His participation in the governance committee is appreciated as it helps facilitate cross-committee dialogue. On the calendar, the committee reviewed proposed revisions to the 2026-27 school calendar to build in an additional emergency closure day, not snow day. It is recommended that the October 12th professional development day shift from a full day to a modified day. In terms of policy, Ms. Soa reviewed policy 5200, attendance policy, and policy regulation 2412, related to home instruction due to health conditions. The committee discussed the proposed revisions and recommends first reading approval by the full board. Discussion will continue in advance of second reading. On personnel updates, Mr. Arlington provided updates on several personnel and HR matters, including projected staffing for next year, as we saw, board-approved class size guidelines, and current administrative vacancies, which includes Washington School Principal and Athletic Director, which is slated for approval tonight. He also reviewed the draft personnel report. The committee recommends its approval by the full board. In other miscellaneous items, Mr. Arlington shared that an administrative framework for outlining procedures for parent-initiated school clubs and activities is currently under legal review. The committee adjourned at 6:30 p.m. Respectfully submitted, Priya Shivani. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shivani. Mr. Lawrence for Finance and Facilities.
Thank you. We also met on April 28th at 7 p.m. BOE attendees, myself, Mr. Bigman, Farshudin, and Ms. Wong. Administration, Mr. Stars, Dr. Diskin, and Mr. Arlington. Turf project update. Mr. Stars reviewed the timeline for the turf project. Advertised bid, June 8th. Bid opening, July 8th. Award project, July 21st. And final completion, February 14th, 2026. No actions are recommended at this time. Auditor RFP. The committee reviewed the results of an RFP from 4 firms submitted. The committee supported awarding the contract to the lowest cost firm, which is PKF O'Connor, at the May 18th meeting, which actually further reduced our operating costs. Number 3, on May 4th, 26th, today, BOE Business Agenda Review. Committee reviewed the draft business agenda discussing the purchasers grant application and the agreement to receive revenue for the use of our parking lot adjacent to the Paper Mill Playhouse. Recommendation Committee supported approval of the business agenda action items. The school budget. Committee discussed at length the budget public hearing process and the efficiency adjustments being recommended that would reduce the tentative tax levy. Recommendation, a separate budget resolution reflecting the efficiency adjustments will be brought to the meeting for today. A straw poll will be taken to determine which budget resolution the board would vote on. Meeting adjourned at 8:55 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. And it looks like I stole my own thunder with the NJSBA liaison report, which would be discussing the PR forum that I mentioned earlier. Again, these organizations that we have, that some of our board members do attend, are really valuable tools to learn best practices and make connections with other districts and people who are facing similar issues. It's really a great way to get more information, benchmark, find great solutions, and see where our holes are. So it's really an excellent opportunity. One other thing I didn't mention previously that I did get a lot of great information on was ADA compliance for our website. It was great to go look through and see that we were really in pretty good shape. So kudos to our team for making sure that we were a little bit ahead of the curve. And that is my report. And now Mr. Reddy for the student representative report.
Good evening, everyone. To start, we had our first AP exams administered today at the high school, and the first day went pretty smoothly. I want to wish everyone good luck to everyone taking AP exams over the next 2 weeks. This past Friday, we held our first student liaison meeting with Mr. Nixon. The main topics were grading and assessments, the block scheduling, midterms, and just the overall school climate. Students discussed how test corrections and reassessments can be improved to be made more focused on relearning the information rather than just earning the points back. We also discussed the pressure students feel to take the most difficult classes available, even when they may not feel fully ready but not wanting to fall behind. Students generally liked the block schedule because it made the day feel less rushed, but some felt longer periods can be tiring. For the midterms, students overall liked having time after each exam to study for the next one, but also felt that the long exams are pretty draining and it can be difficult to return back to class after. Moving on to athletics, it was a very strong weekend for Millburn. Our baseball team defeated Oratory in 14-2 in 5 innings. Girls lacrosse beat St. Elizabeth's 14-2 as well for their 8th win of the season. Boys volleyball defeated Payne Tech to advance to the ECT final for their 3rd consecutive season, where they will face off against Livingston on Friday at 5 p.m. Spring track also competed at the SEC championships, with the boys team finishing 2nd overall. And finally, the boys golf team defeated St. John to improve to an 8-7 record. Thank you all, and have a good night.
Thank you so much, Mr. Reddy. Mr. Connolly, Assistant Superintendent Report.
Good evening, everyone. Congratulations to Dr. Christy Young in the audience there. Christy, maybe you should stand up and be recognized. Dr. Young, our Director of STEM, for earning her doctorate in learning and teaching from Hofstra University. This rigorous program prepared educational leaders for the roles such as university professors, researchers, and curriculum developers. Dr. Young developed a deep expertise in learning and teaching process, strengthened her research skills, and completed her dissertation titled Expanding Access to Advanced Placement Courses, Challenges and Implications for Educational Equity and Student Outcomes. Since joining the district in 2020, Dr. Young has applied this expertise to support teacher development and advance instructional practice. So congratulations again to Christy Young. Just an update on technology. We recognize that parents have questions and concerns about the use of technology in our classrooms. As a district, we believe the use of technology in our classrooms, the use of technology should enhance, not replace, high-quality instruction and meaningful student engagement. Our approach is rooted in balance. We are committed to a thoughtful and integrated use of technology as an instructional tool, supporting learning goals and deepening understanding and providing students with opportunities that they may not otherwise have had. At the same time, we recognize the importance of maintaining strong interpersonal relationships, hands-on learning experiences, and traditional instructional methods essential to well-rounded education. To ensure our practices are aligned with these values, the district will conduct a technology use audit. This process will help us to better understand the frequency and manner in which technology is used to support instruction across grade levels and subject areas. By collecting and analyzing this data, we can identify trends, celebrate the effective practices, and determine where improvements may need to be made. Our goal is to ensure that all classroom technology is purposeful and intentional, serving as a tool to enhance learning rather than an end in and of itself. We are committed to using the findings from this audit to inform future decisions and maintain a balanced approach that reflects the needs of our students and expectations of our community. We appreciate your partnership. We appreciate the ongoing feedback as we continue to refine our instructional practices to support all learners. Just an update on the 2024-25 HIB district and school grade report. As you may recall, in the fall, I presented the HIP grades after we did our self-assessment, and then the NJDOE comes back and re-releases the official reports. So each school's grade is based on several core elements: HIB program initiatives, staff training, and approved HIB policy, procedures, other instructional training, HIB curriculum, HIB personnel, and school-level HIB incident reporting and investigative procedures. The district's grade is the average of all the school scores. The maximum grade is 78. Scores between 53 and 78 mean the school has exceeded the requirements. Millburn's average score was 73. The scores for each individual school, I will give you now. Deerfield was 66, Glenwood was 66, Hartshorn was 75, Millburn was 75, Millburn Middle School was 77, South Mountain School was 74, Washington was 74, and Wyoming School was 73. Last week, Dana Krameroff, an author of the Do More Club, visited Millburn Middle School, where she joined 6th and 7th graders for grade level assemblies and a special kindness activity. She shared the valuable insights and engaged students with her personal stories and helped increase student awareness and sensitivity to similarities and differences. And this was all, it should be noted, this was all part of the Millburn Middle School's No Place for Hate programming that they're running there, and was funded through our Title I program funding. The Paper Mill Playhouse visit. Thank you to the Millburn Education Foundation and the Millburn Middle School PTO for sponsoring this year's trip to the Paper Mill Playhouse. Students had a wonderful time seeing 1776 and gained a deeper understanding of the Continental Congress and the writings of the Declaration of Independence. We truly value our partnership with the Paper Mill Playhouse as it enhances our students' overall experience and helps build a lasting appreciation and love for the arts. Just a quick update on our Monday, April 27th delayed opening for professional development. That professional development day supported the district's goals and sessions on data-driven decision, updated assessment practices, and tiered interventions. The elementary staff attended sessions on IMSE assessment, NJTSS, and preparing students for the NJSLA adaptive test. Millburn Middle School teachers trained on the Lincoln Intervention Manager Tier 1 checklist to track academic and SEL interventions, and the high school staff focused on best practices in grading and assessment. School counselors used data to evaluate and improve programs, while specialized staff followed schedules with the Special Services Department. Congratulations to our robotics team. 5 Millburn Robotics VEX teams competed at the VEX World Championship this past week in St. Louis. They were among 870 teams and from more than 40 countries. The teams competed against the best teams in the world, which each of our teams placed in separate divisions. So Robot, I guess 7405R, Millburn Riptide was 9-3 in the qualification matches and the division finalists. They were also Innovate Award, and they were a top 20 team in the world. 7405M, Millburn Mayhem was 6-6 in the qualifying matches and a division quarterfinalist. 7405N was Millburn Nebula, and they were 8-4 in qualifying matches. 7405K, Millburn Kinetic, 6-6 in the qualifying matches, and then 7405V was Millburn Velocity, and they were 5-7 in the qualification matches. So congratulations to all of our robotics athletes. And then finally, cultural Cultural Heritage Month. May celebrates the histories and contributions of diverse communities. Asian American Pacific Islanders, or otherwise known as AAPI, Heritage Month, was established in 1992, honors the AAPI achievements and impact, while Jewish American Heritage Month, recognized since 2006, highlights Jewish American cultural and civic contributions. These observances invite reflection and appreciation of the diversity that strengthens our community. That was a lot. I appreciate you dealing with all of that, and I know Mr. Stars is happy that I am done. Respectfully submitted, John Conley.
Thank you. I think he's most happy that you're going to give him a copy that he didn't have to take notes. All right, let's open the floor to public comments. Please state your name and address for the record, and they'll be limited to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening, Carolyn Randell, 308 Taylor Road South, Short Hills. I'm here briefly tonight to talk about the vocal request about the vocal music program at the high school. I recently, earlier this week, attended the amazing contemporary vocal music showcase, which at the high school, which is incredible. And you'd be surprised to know that of the boys and girl singers, there were 2 freshman boys, 1 sophomore, my son, and no upperclassmen. And the reason for this, and I've been going for many years, I've never seen that. The reason for this depletion is an unintended consequence, I think you know, of some of the weighting, is a lot of the upperclassmen feel they need to take a class where they can get the AP weighting, and they're leaving the vocal music program. I know that there have been some accommodations made or in the process for strings and chamber for the instrumental students, but those same accommodations I don't believe have been made for the vocal students, particularly the boys. I think there's some talk about a chorale that's going to be an all-girls program because of the numbers. So my student is wringing his hands because he's going to leave, and the teachers don't want him to leave, and he doesn't want to leave, but he feels like he needs that weight for his GPA or what have you, and he has to go to a class where he can get that AP weight. But I believe it's possible, given what I've heard, that there's been talk about there's chamber ensemble, there's different instrumental groups that are being given additional weight. And I'm just talking about juniors and seniors who've done the honors for the tiers and need another place to go. I'll tell you that these students, he works privately with a vocal coach. The music is very complicated. The harmonies are complicated. This isn't like, it's really, if you have a chance to come to one of these showcases, the stuff is amazing. It really blows your mind. And they played with the jazz band, and they work together. It's really incredible. And I want my kids to continue, my boys to continue, and not to have to leave that program. And I believe they're putting in the time and the effort. There were some upper class girls, but not as many. I just noticed the stark, the contrast with the boys. But they want to be able to stay in the program. We want him to stay, continue singing, continue participating. And so I ask you, when you're giving that extra weight, to give it to the vocalist as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amanda Salco. I'm at 36 Colonial Way. And I am here to talk about Chromebook usage and technology in school. Thank you for what you were saying about having a tech edit. I think that's going to be really important, a tech audit, excuse me. So I have a 9-year-old at Hartshorn, and when my child was issued a Chromebook in 3rd grade, his behavior changed immediately. He went from being an outdoorsy kid and a creative kid to being fixated on screens and always asking for computer time. I wanted to understand what they were using the Chromebook for in class and what the district policy was around ed tech in general. And I was surprised to find out that there was no policy. And I was also surprised at how they were able to access the internet outside of their tech class. For example, at the end of library, the kids have 10 minutes to wander around and check out books. But every time I volunteered at the library, I noticed that the kids would flock to the computer tables instead and play and explore unsupervised. So I'm aware that the district has paid for monitoring software, but that usually only flags problems after the fact. And sometimes, as in a recent example my son told me about, someone was innocently searching 6-7, and what came up was 69. So I have a simple question. Why do elementary students need open internet access at all? Or YouTube? For research, we could start with age-appropriate tools like books and guided materials first. Reducing internet access could also reduce the cost for monitoring systems. And frankly, kids are already finding ways around them. My son figured out how to clear his search history, which stumped both his teacher and the tech teacher. Now, I'm not saying that having computers and learning about how to use them is bad. I just think we need to rethink how we're doing it and what is age appropriate at the grade level. Can we use computer labs instead of individualized computers? Can we use pen and paper in elementary school? Science proves that the ability to write things down wires the brain differently, like learning cursive, which New Jersey has just put back into the curriculum, which is awesome. Science shows that less ed tech is simply yielding better outcomes. Since screens were introduced in school, the data is everywhere if you look. Children consistently score lower in literacy, numeracy, deep creativity, and general IQ. A study of nearly 30,000 students across the US reported that even 30 minutes of digital device usage in class was, quote, negatively related to scores on reading comprehension tests. China, our biggest competitor in this tech arms race, just banned AI in all institutions of learning across the board. That's every grade level. We parents and teachers can see how educational games are killing attention spans and teaching a reward-based system of achievement that isn't really how the world works. And I have a list here of 117 other parents who just in the last 3 weeks signed a petition saying that they're just concerned about the ed tech policy in general as well, and we'd like to take a deeper dive. So I'm hoping that we can take a step back and just make sure that the tools we're using are helping and not hurting our kids. Thanks.
Thank you.
Time myself there. Good evening. My name is Mari Lee, and I live at 14 Hawthorne Road in Short Hills. I'm the parent of a second grader at Hartshorn School. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here tonight to speak about technology use in our elementary classrooms, specifically one-to-one devices, YouTube access, and emerging AI tools. This is not about rejecting technology. It's about using it in a way that aligns with how children actually learn. Over time, we've seen a significant increase in device-based learning, including independent Chromebook use, YouTube-based instruction, and AI tools. But this expansion is happening without a clear district-wide screen time and platform policy or adequate parent notification or consent. The reality is the tech systems that schools have embraced are not working as intended. Filters are easily bypassed. Teachers cannot realistically monitor this in real time. Kids are able to get around certain safeguards to play video games and watch YouTube shorts. And this is not just theoretical. I'm seeing this firsthand. My second grade son told me that a significant portion of his day is delivered through YouTube and other screen-based content. That raises the question, are we using technology to support teaching or to replace it? He was also recently asked in class to use an AI chatbot to generate ideas for a writing assignment, which raises the question about whether young children should be outsourcing their thinking. And during Friday Fun, while given a range of screen and non-screen options, students were allowed to use Chromebooks freely, and he chose to play a non-educational video game on his school-issued device consistently each week. When given that choice, children will naturally gravitate towards the most stimulating option. So we should ask, should screens be an option at all during unstructured school time? I've spoken with my son's teachers, the principal, and the STEM director, and they were thoughtful, responsive, and rapidly addressed my concerns. That's encouraging. But it does highlight the need for clear, consistent, district-wide expectations and increased parent partnership. Research tells us children learn best through active human-centered experiences. Excessive screen exposure is linked to poor attention, weaker reading development, and reduced executive functioning. Large-scale international data studies show that students who use computers most frequently in school often perform worse. Neighboring districts are already adjusting. South Orange Maplewood is moving away from one-to-one devices and removing YouTube in elementary schools next year. New Providence will eliminate one-to-one devices in elementary next year. This model is being actively reconsidered. My request is clear. First, update the district's technology policy on screen time, YouTube, AI, and safeguards. Second, move away from the one-to-one Chromebook model in elementary school. Third, eliminate screen use during non-instructional time. Fourth, remove student-directed access to YouTube, internet browsing, and AI chatbots for K through 5. In closing, at this age, the hard work of thinking should belong to the child. Because if we get this wrong, we're changing how children think, how they focus, and how they learn. This is one of the most important educational decisions of our time. I ask you to lead on this. Thank you so much. And I do have some leave-behinds, if I could leave them for you. Is that okay? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your hard work.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amita Kamath. I'm at 26 Knollwood, and I speak to you today as a Millburn Middle School mother of a 6th grader and 2 8th graders, as well as a physician and educator within my profession. We moved to this community 4 years ago specifically for its reputation for a strong, rigorous, and challenging public school system. However, I found that our current reliance on online education is excessive. It has literally become a battle of the Chromebooks that plays out in our homes every single evening. We're currently witnessing a shift in childhood that social psychologist Jonathan Haidt describes as a transition from play-based to phone-based existence. Even within our classrooms, this digital saturation is problematic. Haidt's research highlights the constant use of screens creates attention fragmentation. When our students are constantly switching between tabs, managing notifications, interacting with algorithms, their brains are not engaging in deep, focused work required for true mastery. They're being trained to consume information, not to synthesize it. My 3 students spend over 70% of their homework time on these devices, typing study guides, using online quizzes, watching YouTube videos. Research confirms that these methods are often less effective for retention and critical thinking than traditional tangible learning. We're asking children to navigate a landscape that is fundamentally at odds with the cognitive focus they need to develop. I'm not asking for a complete ban on technology. I'm very happy to hear of the technology audit that you're planning to do. I'm asking for a return to balance. My 3 requests for the board are: 1, a 50-50 approach. Let's dial the screen time back. I want my children to be digitally literate, but I also need them to be able to edit an essay in a blue book, highlight printed materials, and build flashcards by hand. 2, let's build in some device-free classroom time. We need intentional designated periods during the school day where devices are set aside. This will force our children to engage in face-to-face, in-person discussions and shared group projects where they must work together in teams rather than through a screen. And finally, number 3, strategic device management. Just as we have done with phones, let's have designated storage for these devices during the school day to reduce temptation for students to access gaming, social media, or other distractions. When a screen enters the equation, it becomes your child versus a multitude of third parties vying for their attention. With a notebook and a textbook, it's just the student and the learning opportunity. We have a chance to lead here in Millburn, New Jersey. Los Angeles recently enacted policies to restrict screen use in classrooms and to encourage analog assignments. Let us join them in prioritizing the cognitive health of our students. By doing so, we'll show our children that we're capable of adjusting our rules and regulations to help them succeed. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leah Monaco, and I'm here on behalf of the Millburn Education Association as the Vice President, and we just have a few thoughts to follow up with the budget presentation. We would like to request the data from the last 2 to 3 years be shared with us in the community of how many students have joined our schools at each grade level throughout the school year, including the summer months. The MEA is concerned that, especially with the amount of new construction in town, that numbers could be even higher than in the past, and that the data on the slides shared tonight could potentially be inaccurate. As staff, we know that we are consistently getting new students added to our rosters during the summer and the school year, so this data may be really important for us to review. Possibly we can keep those dedicated teachers and staff who truly do go above and beyond every day for our students and this district. We would also like to add that we do agree with Student Representative Jackson Ruddy, as he stated tonight, that the high school students, it's all about the learning, not just earning the points. And the staff shares this view and has all along. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Any other comments?
Jeffrey Feld. First, I'm glad my kids are not have gone through the system and not dealing with this technology issue, which is in every op-ed, and hopefully you'll get real professional guidance as to what to do. Second, on the agenda, there's something called the Weingarten Rights. Who's going to be going to that seminar, and what are Weingarten rights? I know of Bryce notices, but what are Weingarten rights? Also, we have an opportunity. We were always talking about the reduction that comes down from the state aid. About a week ago, the governor signed an executive order about affordable housing. We have an opportunity, I think the Board of Education and the Township Committee, especially when you look at who is leading some of the agencies, to look at long-term tax exemptions and making sure that there's a proper equalization of state aid to municipalities like the suburbs because of the urban municipalities who did not fashion their pilots correctly and did not obtain or abide by memorandum of understanding. Go contact the commissioner of the DCA. Go contact the commissioner of the HMFA, because when they were lower on, I had dealings with them. They know that the towns, various urban municipalities, because you look at Newark, how much money is going into that system, make sure they collect their pilots, make sure the equalization rates are done, that we make sure we can maybe get back our state aid. We have a right to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other comments, we can move on to discuss the board discussion of the agenda items. Any comments or questions from the board regarding the agenda items? Yes, Ms. Shivani. Oh, Mr. Casson, yes.
We're approving a contract for paper mill parking. That contract doesn't appear to be in my packet, but there's a summary. Are we approving it on the summary, or are we approving, or should the contract have been in my packet?
It's on the summary. You don't have any.
Just approving it on the summary?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Shivani.
So just a question on business agenda item 3C. I just want to confirm what we are approving, this number that is here on the local tax levy.
Okay,
If
so
you can just go over
I
the process,
believe,
just for everyone's
sure.
benefit. Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to open the floor to discussion amongst the board, just to ensure we have answered everyone's questions. We're going to conduct a straw poll amongst the board to see which direction we're leaning for which of those two budget options we'd like to follow through on, and then we'll go from there. Any other questions about the current board items at this time? All right. Instruction agenda items. May I have a motion and a second to approve instruction agenda items 1A through 1H? Mr. Farashudin, Mr. Lawrence, Mr. Stars, could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Farashudin.
Aye.
Mr. Finkelstein.
Yes.
Ms. Wong.
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence.
Yes.
Mr. Bigman.
Yes.
Mr. Casson.
Yes.
Ms. Shivani.
Yes.
Ms. Speltz.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Personnel agenda items. May I have a motion and a second to approve personnel items 2A and 2B? Ms. Shivani? Mr. Bigman? Any questions? Roll call, please, Mr. Stars.
Mr. Finkelstein.
Yes.
Ms. Wong.
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence.
I abstain.
Mr. Bigman.
Yes.
Mr. Casson.
Yes.
Mr. Farashudin.
Yes.
Ms. Shivani.
Yes.
Ms. Speltz.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. All right, so as Ms. Shivani pointed out, we currently have two options in front of us regarding the budget for this year. So what I'd like to do right now is take a quick straw poll. The first option being the tentative budget that was advertised already, and the second option being the one with the efficiencies that the administration has found. So if first we could get a show of hands for who would prefer the original advertised budget. So we have two, and can then I have a show of hands for the amended budget? All right. Do we want to have are there any other questions or discussions regarding that before we want to move forward with the agenda items? Oh, we'll pass out the amended resolution. I believe all the board members have a copy of that resolution in their board packets. So what we will do is get a motion and a second for the items, and then we will open the floor to discussion. Can I get a motion and a second for business agenda items 3A through 3F? Mr. Lawrence? Okay. So we're keeping that separate? Mr. Stars, yes, please.
We just want to make it clear now that the adjusted budget resolution has been distributed, that is replacing the existing 3C in here. Unless you want to do it as a separate vote.
Let's do that as a separate vote, just to keep it perfectly clear.
So this-
Yeah, we'll carve it out.
So you do
Yes?
3A, B, every 3A, B, D,
And-
E, F.
Not C.
Correct.
Not C.
Yes. We'll say, Mr. Lawrence? Motion and second, Mr. Bigman? Perfect, thank you. Any discussion on those with the carve-out of 3C? All right. Mr. Stars, roll call, please.
Ms. Wong?
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence?
Yes.
Mr. Bigman?
Yes.
Mr. Casson?
Yes.
Mr. Farashudin?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Finkelstein?
Yes.
Ms. Shivani?
Yes.
Ms. Speltz?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you very much. All right, so at this point, could we have a motion and a second for 3MC? Is that correct?
As distributed.
As distributed, yes. Mr. Bigman? Ms. Shivani? So I'd like to open the floor to discussion about this item. Yes, Ms. Wong?
I just want to confirm that's to vote the budget, the updated budget with, oh, okay. Yes, I just want to make sure.
Yes, so the vote would be on the amended resolution with the change in the number.
Okay, got it, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions or comments regarding that? All right, then we can open, Mr. Casson?
I'll just say, I did raise my comments on this earlier in the evening, so I'm not going to belabor the point, but I do think it's, something we should be conscious of for future votes and how we maintain the balance between capital and maintenance reserves and operating budget expenditures, so that we are thinking long-term, not just year by year as things go on. And while we do identify efficiencies, I think long-term planning is still worthwhile. So while I know the straw poll didn't go the way I had hoped it would, and I will support the budget, but I think I was mindful of the other members' comments that they would be looking at this for future years as well, and I hope we can collaboratively do that together.
Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Casson. I agree. I think that is one of the strengths of this district has been the long-term planning and the careful and thoughtful way that we have spent money to date, which has left us in a better position than a lot of districts at this point. Any other questions or comments before roll call? Excellent. Mr. Stars?
Mr. Lawrence?
Yes.
Mr. Bigman?
Yes.
Mr. Casson?
Yes.
Mr. Farashudin?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Finkelstein?
Yes.
Ms. Wong?
No.
Ms. Shivani?
Yes.
Ms. Speltz?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. All right, so moving on to special services. May I have a motion and a second to approve special services 4A through 4C? Mr. Farashudin, Mr. Finkelstein? Any discussion or questions? Wonderful. Mr. Stars, roll call, please.
Mr. Bigman?
Yes.
Mr. Casson?
Yes.
Mr. Farashudin?
Yes.
Mr. Finkelstein?
Yes.
Ms. Wong?
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence?
Yes.
Ms. Shivani?
Yes.
Ms. Speltz?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to approve policy item 5A? Ms. Shivani, Mr. Casson? Any questions or comments? Excellent. Mr. Stars, roll call, please.
Mr. Casson,
Yes.
Mr. Farashudin,
Yes.
Mr. Finkelstein,
Yes.
Ms. Wong,
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence.
Yes.
Mr. Bigman,
Yes.
Ms. Shivani,
Yes.
Ms. Speltz.
Yes.
Motion passed, sorry.
Thank you very much. Do we have any old business? Any new business to cover? Excellent. I will open up the floor to public comments. Again, state your name and address for the record, and they're limited to 3 minutes. Thank you. All right, then, we'll move on to board member comments. Would anyone, Ms. Wong?
Yeah, I would like to take this opportunity to clarify why I voted against on the personal report at the last BOE meeting on April 20th. On April 14th, during the Finance Committee meeting, the administration proposed to cut teacher positions as part of the budget update, but offered limited information or supporting data at that time. I shared my concerns at the meeting and voiced my opposition to the teacher position cuts. I understand that budget impacts all decisions. It impacts the number of teacher positions available for students, affects our ability to hire or retain teaching staff based on funding, and shapes the programs we can offer for our students. For these reasons, I have concerns about cutting teacher positions. Due to my concerns and understanding of budget, I voted against the personal report at the April 20th BOE meeting. Let me be very clear. I voted no on the personal report, not because I oppose renewing our teachers. That's definitely not the reason. I fully support our teachers. I voted no because I oppose cutting teacher positions, which is connected to the proposed reduction in force in the updated budget. Though I recognize that personal matters are distinct from the budget vote, I don't support the teacher position cuts that underline these appointments. My vote reflects my concern about the negative impact of cutting teacher positions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wong. I would like to clarify that the vote that was in question was simply on renewing teacher contracts. It had nothing to do with any non-renewals, any budget cuts, anything else. That vote was purely on renewing teacher contracts for the MEA. Thank you. Any other comments or questions or thoughts or ideas? All right. So with that, we can let's have a motion for adjournment. Mr. Farashudin, Ms. Shivani, all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you very much.